I said, who loves decimals? Andrew raised his hand. Because he knows it makes me happy inside. Okay, so should I just hand it out? Like so. It's the decimals that we talked about yesterday, right? So what do we remember about decimals from yesterday? That they're what?
I don't like it.
That they're despicable? Is that what you said?
Yes.
They're despicable. That's not an option.
It's always an option.
Bad option. Alright. So remember decimals are 1 cut into pieces. Right? So remember I said we had 1 pizza, and that's good for me, right? I don't gotta cut it up, I don't gotta do anything, I can like roll it like a burrito and eat it. So I got 1 full thing. Now if I wanted to share it, if I want to go New York style, 1 and a half? 1 and a half? I can't have more than 1. 1, you see this? 1, that's important. Right? We got our big pieces. We got New York style, so I've got 1/4 or 0.25, right? Remember, like 4 quarters and $1, 25 cents. And then I can go even further and go like Pizza Hut style. My circles are really bad today. Anybody else notice that? It's till morning. We know I don't wake up. So I've got 1/8. Or I divide 8 into 1, so I got to add on a 0, which we'll learn this, so don't worry too much about it now. I just want you to see what's going on in the background.
So they do get a lot of them.
Alright, so this is how I break it down. So I still have 1 whole, right? My whole circle didn't change, but I'm only taking a part of it now. And this one I'm taking an even smaller part of it. Do we see that? Maybe?
Yep.
Do we understand that if I take 1 whole thing, so if I took my fist and I cut it into 5 pieces, right? We'll just say my fingers are all 5 equal pieces. That I could take 1 of those pieces and hand it out to 5 different people, right? That's what decimals are doing. Decimals are taking 1 thing and breaking it down. Just like you can do with 10 pieces, you can do with 1 piece, you just have to tear it up. So I could take my paper and I could rip it into individual pieces. Okay? Do we see that? Good. Are we still sleeping? We're still sleeping.
The fist thing sounds painful.
If I cut my fist up into actual pieces?
You know, but giving it to people will kind of be kind of weird.
It'd be awkward.
Yeah.
It's Halloween. Nothing would be awkward on Halloween.
But you just have like a stub.
No, I'd keep my fist or the actual palm. And then I could go into palm reading.
Hey, but wait, your palm's a part of your fist though.
I've just decided. Okay. Another way to look at it is if I had 1/100th of something. Good morning, ma'am.
I'm not going back out there.
That's alright. So if I've got 1/100th of something, I've taken 1, we're going to call it a cracker, or cookie, I guess we can call it cookie. But I've got 1/100th, right? 100. There's my 1. So I'm going to take this and individually 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one makes 10. 2. Okay. So I've taken my 1 piece and I've cut it into 100 pieces. That is 1/100th. That's what it looks like. See it? So when you're actually looking at these smaller numbers, like what's on your sheet, that's what it looks like. So if I start, I'm going to start on the one that has 8 and 2/10. So I've got 8 and 2/10 box, 8 and 22 hundredths. Who thinks they might be able to tell me what the difference between 2/10 and 22 hundredths would look like? If I cut this into 100 pieces, how many pieces am I going to cut this one into? Any ideas? Huh? 2? Well, this one's in hundredths, and I used one of them, right? This is in hundredths, so how many am I going to use? 22. This is really big, abnormally large. That was a little sloppy, but it's alright. So here's 10, here's 20, 21, 22. Alright, so this one I had hundredths, and I used just one, right? This one I have 22 hundredths, and I filled in 22 of them, right? So if this one's in the tenths, how many squares am I going to have total? 10. Alright, so I've got 10 squares. How many squares am I going to fill in? Why am I going to fill in 2? Because it's 2/10? It's 8 and 2/10, right? But it's 2/10. So you're right. They filled in 2 boxes. Anybody else hot? I'm burning up. My fever comes back. Somebody shoot me. I'm done being sick. Done with a D. Okay. So if I had 22 hundredths here, and I used 100, right? I used 100 total. And I had tenths here, and I used 10. How many do you think I'd have if I used thousandths? So I've got tenths with 10 boxes, hundredths with 100 boxes. How many boxes am I going to have if I use thousandths? 1,000 boxes. Okay? Does this make decimals a little easier to see? So we start with one whole box, right? This is my big old cracker. I cut my cracker into 100 pieces, and I give away 22 of those pieces. That's what a decimal looks like. So if I use 1,000 boxes with 1,000ths, how many boxes am I going to use with 10,000ths? Any ideas? 10,000. 10,000. That's it. That's decimals. Decimals is one thing cut up into a whole bunch of pieces. You fill in how many pieces you use. That's it. So as difficult as a decimal looks, all it is a fraction, a small piece of one whole thing. In some cases, just 2. In some cases, just really small, 1. And then it goes from there. But when you see where that number ends, again, that's why we learned all those place values. When you see where that number ends, that's how many boxes you're going to have. And you're going to use that many of those boxes. You see it? I saw it. All of a sudden, I saw a light go back there. Oh. That's what I was waiting for. Somebody. Anyway. I know. What time is it? 10 after 9 in the morning? Shoot me. Okay. So then for this, which one's bigger?
The one on the right.
The one on the right. Why do we think the one on the right is bigger?
Because the one on the left has 8.2 and the one on the right has 8.22.
right? So it's just a little bit more. Not much. It is these two little boxes more. Okay? So next one. 2.63, box 2.63.
Equal.
Equal. Not even gonna write that one down. I'm on the set. So if I had 9 and 93 hundredths box, 9 and 99 hundredths, 9.99 is a little bit bigger, right? And I would say this as 9 and 93 hundredths is less than 9 and 99 hundredths. So we can't forget that this means less than. Because again, you're going to start to see things written out in word form. So I might say something like 9 is less than 10. Right? That would be an easy one. But you need to recognize that if I say less than, that means the smaller number goes first. So if I write it out like a mathematical question or statement, that's how it's going to seem. Yes, ma'am.
The number on this side, you always want the number on this side?
The less number?
Okay, if it's a lesser number or a higher number, are you starting on this side first?
When you're reading it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You will always start left and go right. Good question. That's a really good question. Any other questions? So let's see, where's one? So if I go down to number 8, I've got 1 and 21 hundredths box, 1 and 17 hundredths, 1 and 21 hundredths is greater. 1 and 21 hundredths is greater than 1 and 17 hundredths.
Basically, like my one teacher told me a long time ago that it's like a shark and it needs to figure it out. Faces away from the little.
Right. We always want to see it as like a mouth. Right? I can even draw on some teeth because it's Halloween. Who wants to dress up for Halloween?
I'm going to a Halloween
This is like a
party,
wicked
so-
Pac-Man. Go to a Halloween party.
So I have to wear a costume.
I'm making my own costume. I'm really excited.
I made 2 of my own too.
Well, 3 of them, one at the church, one at the club, one at my lucky time.
One at the club. Are you going to wear the same costume to the club as you are to the church?
I always wear 2 separate ones. Very-
I'll go for one.
Like
Good
one
morning.
of mine's
Somebody came late last week, but I'm gonna calculate it with somebody in there with him.
Do number 6.
Number 6?
Yeah.
What is that? 6. Oh, 6. 0.55.
Dude, that's equal.
So 0 and 55 hundredths box. 0 and 55 hundredths.
Is it raining really badly outside?
These are? Would you say these were, Willow?
Equal.
Equal. They're the exact same number, so they're equal every time. You think we got this?
Can you do number 9?
Number 9? Yeah. Oh, that's like a trick one.
Yeah, that is a trick. Not really. That's zero. Sort of.
It is to trick you, though. Something like that. When you see stuff like that, that is to trick you. That's just make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing. Kind of like when I say don't pencil whip it, or you'll make me mad. Worksheets get mad too. What is this number? 9 and 17 hundredths.
Okay. I think that's done.
What is this number? 917 thousandths, right? So this is like one of these, but with 1,000 boxes. So we'll just say I got 1,000 boxes here. 1,000 boxes.
Starters.
Alright, so I've got 1,000 boxes. I'm using 917 of them. So this thing's gonna be packed full of color in a minute. Alright.
Sound effects of the year.
Spielberg's gonna call me shortly, okay?
Michael Bay.
So, but this one is a fraction, or is a small amount, right? This is like 9 whole pizzas. This is like I'm teasing you and I don't even give you a whole one. So which one's bigger?
9 and 9.
9.
Oh, well, I had it right. A little correct.
Don't doubt yourself. What have I said? I will tell you when you're wrong. You assume you're right until I do. Alright? So again, watch for that decimal. That right there is the kicker.
An assumption is basically an educated guess.
An assumption makes an ass out of you and me. An assumption is an educated guess. We'll call that a hypothesis.
Okay. Well,
We'll learn today. We will broaden our horizon with light bulbs and hypotheses. Yes, ma'am.
Is that zero just an alien?
When you see just the 0 like that,
it doesn't.
you don't say it. It is, it's almost like a starter number. We'll call it a starter number for decimals. Because when you just see a point like that, it doesn't go over very well. It could mean a lot of different things. And remember, it gets back into that sloppy handwriting situation, where depending on where you write it. But if you always put 0 and a number, I know you mean decimal. See what I'm saying? So that decimal right there means, like the fact that there's a 0 here, means that this isn't even one whole piece. This is 917 pieces cut into 1,000. Like they're 1,000th size. So like this one right here, I did this 0.01 for a reason. I've got 100 pieces. Okay, so I have equally cut one thing into 100 pieces. That's what this is. And I have one piece, and they're all the exact same size, but they've all been cut into 100 pieces. So this is called 100th. So if I wrote it a different way, it would be like this. You know, like how you see a fourth? So a fourth of a cup, when you're baking something, the little cups. This would be a really tiny cup. Because what a fourth is you've taken one cup, like a flour, and you've poured it out, and you've cut it into 4 equal pieces. So if you took that same cup, because that part doesn't change, that one whole doesn't change. If you took that same cup and cut it into 100 pieces, and only needed to use one, that would be the difference there. Okay? Might bring in some sort of baking materials just to make sure we get this, because I see this being useful. But yeah, with something like this, is a trick to make sure you're paying attention to where those decimals are. Every time. When the numbers are like that, when they're the exact same numbers on either side, but that decimal's been shifted over, it is to make sure you're paying attention and don't just pencil whip an equal sign in there. Anything else? So like number 13 is like that. Which one's bigger? So 4 and 25 hundredths or 425 thousandths? No.
4 and 25.
That one's bigger. Because you've got 4 whole ones and that 25 hundredths on the end, so a little bonus. And the second number, 425 thousandths, you don't even have a whole piece yet. You're not even halfway there. Because you'd cut that into 1,000 pieces, and you're not even to 500 yet, so you don't even have half of it. Any more questions on, yes?
On the other side, the other side, see that, see before
2 7.
number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah.
2 and 63 hundredths.
Yeah.
So number 2, I've got 2 and 63 hundredths, box, 2 and 63 hundredths. Are those the same number? Yep, they're just equal. You're fine. Sorry. Anything else?
Number 17.
The 38? Yeah. Another good question.
I can't see.
Did you move?
I don't have it on paper.
Oh!
She got to get a paper too.
We're all working on worksheets, and you guys just like do. Okay, so number 17. Put the number up there this time. All right, 0.38 or 3800 box. 38,000. So I've got 38 hundredths because where does that 8 end? So the difference here is actually I don't know.
So wait, it would be the one on the right then, right?
No,
Okay.
because this one's cut into 100 pieces. This one's cut into 1,000 pieces.
So,
Which, if you look at just one piece, 100 versus 1,000. So if I take my paper and I cut it into 100 pieces, or I cut it into 1,000 pieces, which pieces are going to be bigger? The 100 pieces. So when you see this, you've got 38 and 38, right? Again, another kind of tricky one because they're making sure you know what you're doing. This is 3,800.
yeah, I was just BSing you, I got it right.
If I spelled it right, that'd be great. 38 hundredths is greater than 38 thousandths. So this right here means 100 pieces, or cut into 100 pieces. And this means cut into 1,000 pieces. All right. So that's the difference there. So they're both 38. But this one's pieces, individual pieces, are smaller than this one's pieces. Because we took the same thing, so I took two of the same worksheets, and I cut one of them into 100 pieces, and I cut one of them into 1,000 pieces. The 100 pieces on their own are larger, so if I just took one of each, the 100 would be larger. Any other questions?
The number two.
See it? Hold on a second. Do you see it?
There's 20 right there.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Can you see it, Kathy? Okay.
Twenty.
20? The 155 or the 269?
269.
Okay. So number 20, 2 69/100 box, or 269,000. So the first thing we look for with these, the very first thing I want you to look at is the whole number, that ones position. So this one has a 2, this one has a 0. Which one's larger?
No.
The left one, 2. Greater. So if you start with that whole number position, those trick ones like this one right here will jump up instantly. You'll see it as soon as you look at it. Look for that whole number position. Anything else? Do you guys want to do some of these on the board?
17. 17.
17? The 2 and 21? That's what I just did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah. Huh? Who wants to do one? Alright, real quick, I'm going to do 17 again.
Oh.
So 3,800 box, 38,000. So remember the one I just had up here with 100 pieces and 1,000 pieces? That's that one. So what did we say which was bigger?
38.
3,800, right?
Okay.
Good? You want to do one?
No.
Okay. Alright, well then we're ending this.